His is an immigrant story. Lieutenant Governor Michael Fedele was born in Italy. He was raised and educated in Connecticut, started his own business, and served 10 years as a Stanford state rep. Now he wants a promotion. He wants the big job.
Absolutely.
Right now, 150 G's, but you know, I got to tell you, Lieutenant Governor, it's a tough job. You got $3.8 billion in debt and growing. Why? What is appealing about a job where there's just heartache and headache?
Yeah. Well, Stan, these aren't the jobs that you do for the money side of things, right? Even though $150,000 is a lot of money. You know, you mentioned I'm an immigrant story. You know, my parents and I came here, and I was in the ripe age of 3 when I got here, for the opportunities that this country provided us. And those opportunities aren't there for your family, for our children and the future generations because of what's going on in state government, the spending, the loss of jobs and things of that nature. I'm running for governor to bring those opportunities back to our state, to get government back and get it righted, to get our spending under control, to get those 101,000 people who are currently unemployed back to work. And I believe with my experience in the private sector of 26 years of building a business that I started by myself with some words that my dad gave me, which he said, Michael, there are 2 things that you're going to get in life that you can do good with or bad. That's your name and your handshake. I took that and as a personal mission. I've used that in my business, and I've used that in politics. I think if you look at that, you look at my background and legislative background, both serving in municipal government, 10 years in the legislative government, and now 3.5 years in the executive branch, I think I've got the package and the ideas to take the state forward.
But you're in an awkward spot here. You are a successful businessman in a state not known to be very warm for business, but also the lieutenant governor in that very same state. So how do you explain that? The concerns about the business climate, are they accurate? What would you do about it? And why haven't more things been done about it under your tenure?
Well, again, the state is not as business-friendly as I would like to see it, and clearly that's been exemplified in some of the comments that we just recently heard back with UTC. What we need to do is bring business to the table. We need to bring business to the table with government, with the legislative body, and ask them, hey, guys, what are we doing right? Because there are some things we're doing right. But clearly, what are we doing wrong? As Lieutenant Governor, I've made it a point to go out and talk to businesses every week. I've been to Western Europe. I've been to China to help grow businesses here in Connecticut, Stan. And I can point to specific companies that I've spoken to that help grow business here. That has been a very important role for me to play in that part. We need to make Connecticut very business friendly. We're going to do that by making sure that any legislation that we pass doesn't impact jobs. And many folks know that when the legislature talks about bills, they talk about the fiscal note to a bill. I'd like to see us modify that also to add what business growth is that going to give? Or is it going to take away from business growth? Very important. We need to sit down with businesses and say, look, you just bought a business in Florida. How can we bring that business here? We have to expand upon what we do well, our knowledge corridor that runs between New Haven and up here through Hartford and up in Massachusetts. We have more universities and colleges in that knowledge corridor than in Silicon Valley and Research Triangle. Those are the kind of things we have to promote and shine on in the state. And to have someone tell that story, the next governor has to be the chief marketing officer of the state.
But the next governor also has to take a look at the debt issue. There are a bunch of issues that Connecticut deals with, the Connecticut crisis. Let's start first with the debt issue. Again, where do you start? I try to pin. We've had a bunch of candidates on. Sure. I want to pin them down. It's billions of dollars in debt. Where do you specifically begin to cut that?
Well, there's a couple areas we've got that in. Obviously, our bonding is one area. Every 11 cents of every dollar that we collect goes towards debt, and it's actually getting close to 12 cents in every dollar. Connecticut is the highest per capita debt per person. The first thing I would do is freeze our bonding. Freeze our bonding.
Okay, which means now you're going to freeze building construction, right?
Freeze bonding to the extent that we're not going to be everything to everyone. I mean, we bond gazebos. We bond parks. These aren't things that should be part of bonding. We should be doing schools. We should be doing transportation. We should be doing public safety issues.
So smarter bonding.
Smarter bonding. I mean, we did $600 million, I think, last year in school construction bonding. Maybe we do a little bit less. Instead of doing 25 schools this year, we do 21, and we carry those over.
How about the state employee ranks? I want to cut you off, but the state employee ranks with the 50,000 people.
That's correct. And
what happens there?
That's the other piece. The $9 billion in uncompensated pension and the and $25 billion in medical health care out there. We need to make sure that what we are offering our state employees, we can afford to pay. We can't afford to pay that. So my position with the state employees, particularly on the pension side and the medical care, is what good does it do us as a state to promise you in the future that we're going to be able to pay you when we can't do that? You know, states can't go bankrupt, but what they do is issue IOUs. If they don't believe that, they should look at California, and they should look at the state of Arizona. The state of Arizona and California issued IOUs to their pensioners, issued IOUs to their state employees. The first 2 weeks they were issued, banks were taking them. After that, they weren't. So you cannot pay your bills with an IOU.
Bad way to do business.
Bad ways to do business.
How do you retain young people? One of the biggest problems, again, Connecticut's the aging population here. You mentioned business growth, going overseas. How do you begin to get young people back and keep them vibrantly involved and employed in the state?
Absolutely. There's a Yukon study that was done a couple of years ago. There's a conception that thinks that kids graduate school and as they grab their diploma, they're taking an airline ticket with them. That's not the case. What that study said is kids actually do stay in the state. The problem is there's no upward mobility for them. So after they're here a while and they want to move on, there's no growth. So where that growth has to occur is within those companies. We have to bring more business in here to give children more upward mobility to grow here, number one. Number two, we have to make sure we have affordable housing. Some of the cost of housing in some of these states is in our state is very expensive, and make it affordable for kids. We have to have a transportation systems. So if kids who are students, I say kids, but I guess this is my age, but if you are living or working in the suburbs, because that's an important part, what's the transportation system to get you to a center like Hartford that has arts and music and nightlife, which is very important to young people also.
A couple of quick points. The achievement gap, and then I want to talk about Jody Rell and sort of whether you being tied to her helps you or hurts you. Achievement gap, real quick, the widest gap in America. 2 quick bullet points, what you do to change that.
We need to look at how we educate our children. I mean, clearly we're not doing a good job, particularly in closing that achievement gap. Is money important? Absolutely. Is it the complete answer? It's not. But yet you look at it in Hartford, for example. You look, what's the best performing fourth grade in the state of Connecticut? Jim Oak Academy. It's in the heart of Hartford. It's a charter school. There's no secret to the success of these schools. I'm all for public school teachers. I'm not crazy about some of the public school teacher unions and some of the things that they do for the public school teachers. We have to have accountability not only at the teacher level, but also at the parent level to close that achievement gap.
To model success and what works. Jody Rell, one of the most popular governors in history, leaving at a very tough time, you being tied to her, that help you or hurt you? Because right now people are saying, well, gee, under her watch, there is all this debt, but yet she's had a very good run of popularity. Sure. 15 seconds, help you or hurt you?
Well, I think let me put it this way. I doesn't think it helped me or hurts me. I think it lets people know that there's only one governor. Governor Rell and I didn't always agree on things, but at the end of the day, she's the only person in the executive branch that has the constitutional responsibility to do that. If Governor Rell said, I'm not going to veto a bill, I, in my current position as lieutenant governor, don't have a constitutional power saying, well, gee, Governor Rell, that's not right. I'm going to veto it, okay? So I can tell you.
Have you had a bill where she said she liked it and you didn't? Have you said to her, Governor, this is a bad move behind?
Yeah.
Give me a quick example.
Well, a quick example would be the bill, the budget that passed this last fall. Governor Rell decided not to sign it and let it become law for all the right reasons. Everything she said why it shouldn't have been passed is occurring, the deficit and so on. I would have vetoed it. I would have kept the legislature there to make sure that we got it right. And I think that is going to be my difference. My difference is I'm here because I have the courage to make the difficult decisions, because the next governor of the state has to have that courage. You can't be worried about the next poll or the next election. All
right. He's Governor Michael Fedele. When we come back, we'll return with our entertainment attorney, James Walker. He joins us for a conversation about Erykah Badu's provocative music video, plus the return of Tiger Woods and his attempt to salvage his image. Do not go away.